You're listening to the UAE's #1 talk radio station.
This is the Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye 103.8.
With Richard Dean, Brandy Scott and Tom Urquhart.
I'm talking real estate now and the boom in UAE real estate, but this is not luxury apartments overlooking the sea. It is not a mansion in Emirates Hills. It is a good old-fashioned warehouse. Joining us in the studio to give us some insight on this is the Associate Director of Research with Savills here in the Middle East, Swapnil Pillai. Swapnil, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you for having me.
So normally when you or your colleagues are in here, we're talking about all kinds, 300 million dirhams for a villa on Palm Jumeirah. Now we're getting dirty. This is warehouses, but they're doing well. What do we know?
Yeah, so this finding is from our latest report called the Global Warehousing Cost Index Report, wherein we look at the warehousing costs across 52 global cities. Warehousing and multifamily apartments have been the favored investment asset classes over the last 3 or 4 years. And it has also seen significant demand from occupiers as well, wherein occupancy levels have increased across most of the cities. So the rents as a result have been growing across these warehousing hubs over the last 24 to 36 months. And last year, when we looked at the numbers, the rental values on an average across these 52 global cities had increased by almost 8.4%. And this time around, the numbers have gone up by almost 10.1% across the 52 global cities that we track.
And Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which are two cities in the UAE that you look at, are doing well. So Dubai is the 7th most expensive city to rent warehousing space in the world at $20 per square foot. Abu Dhabi is 14th, significantly cheaper at around about $14 per square foot. You say London is the most expensive market.
Exactly. So London is the most expensive market as of now in terms of the per square footage cost of occupying a grade A warehousing space. And like you said, Dubai has maintained its position as the 7th most expensive warehousing market globally. Now, in terms of Dubai, the occupier demand side has shifted over the last 2 or 3 years. So right after the pandemic, we saw a lot of demand from existing companies looking at consolidating and probably expanding their operations within the city. And we also saw a bit of a relocation from companies who were based out of Sharjah or Ras Al Khaimah, relooking at Dubai to set up their warehousing base. But after the pandemic, we have seen a clear shift in demand from new companies entering into the market, especially driven by the China Plus One strategy, for example, and also all the comprehensive economic partnership agreements that the UAE is kind of signing with emerging economies.
Okay, let's talk about the Dubai market in particular, because there's a big change happening at the moment in terms of warehousing. Al-Quoz, the traditional industrial zone of Dubai for both manufacture, but also for warehousing and logistics and distribution. And yet, increasingly, that's home to a lot of creative companies. I'm looking at a press release from 2 years ago now, April 2021. His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed launches the Al-Quoz Creative Zone. This idea that Al-Quoz, some of those warehouses, can be repurposed to home creative companies like media companies or design companies. How significant is that change?
So it's a very interesting point. I think the way to look at it is maybe one from the occupier standpoint. So occupiers are moving towards more sustainable as well as grade A assets, and some of the developments in Al-Quoz maybe not meet those criteria. So you will see a lot more companies eventually moving out of Al-Quoz to some of these grade A new built assets in Dubai South and other parts of the city. And also purely from a real estate location perspective, Al-Quoz is right in the middle of the city. And if you look at other global cities, you typically have warehouses in the outskirts of the city or closer to major infrastructure hubs, and you have smaller last minute delivery centers closer to the city center. So we might see a lot more last mile delivery centers being located across Al-Quoz, while the rest of this the micro market gets repurposed into more to making more placemaking for other social activities.
And this has happened in cities throughout the world. If we think, let's take New York as an example. Manhattan used to be an industrial manufacturing hub. I mean, not that long ago, 100 years ago. But, of course, the factories have shut down and they're now trendy apartments and bars and restaurants. And the manufacturing has shifted much further outside the city. And we could tell that story about so many cities around the world. Is it simply that trend happening here in Dubai?
Exactly. So regeneration in a lot of cases should not be considered as a bad thing for the city, because like you said, Manhattan is a very good example. It got repurposed into things that are being useful or current as of date. So Al Quoz will go through that regeneration process, wherein, because it's right in the middle of the city center, you might see a bit more apartments coming up. You will see a lot more cool co-working offices maybe coming up there. So there's a lot of potential for that area to be regenerated into more than just being a warehousing hub.
So where are people going to go? I'm thinking of Dubai Industrial City. I'm thinking of Dubai South. If you drive around that area, around about the Expo site, around about the DWC airport, there's a lot of space there, and there's a lot of, call them warehouses, call them light industrial units springing up there. That, to me, is where we're going to move to. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Sharjah. Maybe it's Ajman. What do you think?
So yeah, exactly. So if you look at the broader master plan for the city, there is a clear push to move towards industrial and manufacturing activities, especially towards the new Dubai South, the Dubai World Trade Airport, the new airport that is coming up, which is going to be the largest airport when it is fully operational. And Dubai South as a market has seen significant take-up of warehousing space from companies like Noon and Amazon. So we are clearly seeing a shift of consolidation activity happening towards Dubai South. And I think that should probably continue in the next few years as well.
What about Abu Dhabi?
So Abu Dhabi is a very interesting market. It has definitely benefited from all the SEPA agreements that the UAE has entered in with other economies.
Just remind us what those agreements are, and then explain why they're significant.
Yeah, so if you look at the recent comprehensive economic partnership agreements with India, for example, wherein the government plans to increase the bilateral trade between the two countries to $100 billion, that is significant. So you are already starting to see repercussions of that on the warehousing sector. For example, the Jebel Ali free zone has already seen a 30% increase in the number of Indian companies that are based out of that area. So the more such agreements the UAE government enters in with other economies, we'll see more interest from companies in that part of the world to come into UAE and set up their manufacturing or warehousing base here.
That's interesting that you, as Savills, a brokerage and consultancy, are actually seeing already these SEPAs, comprehensive economic partnership agreements. They're already moving the needle, in your view, yes?
Exactly. So our agents are pretty busy attending to queries from clients in other parts of the world who are keen to, explore UAE as an option, either, like I said, to manufacture here or to re-export some of their products. And I already mentioned about the China Plus One strategy, and a lot of the Chinese companies are also keen on using UAE as a base to re-export some of their products. And we are seeing demand increase or take up from Chinese operators as well.
Last word on this. Okay, so Al Quoz is becoming gentrified and trendy. Fine, I get that. So some people are moving south with their warehouses, either to places like Dubai Investments Park or even further south to Abu Dhabi. But what about moving north? What about moving north to places like Sharjah or Ajman or Al Quoz? What are you seeing? A quick word on that.
Yeah, sure. So we are also seeing demand across Sharjah, for example, but that is largely domestic-led demand, wherein companies are setting up to service the local market. While we look at Dubai South, it could potentially serve as a base for companies to target the wider GCC market and also the North African market.
And quickly, the difference in price between a warehouse in, say, Sharjah Industrial Zone 17 or Dubai South, where do we stand at the moment?
I wouldn't have the exact numbers, but I would easily say there's a easily 50 to 60% discount that would be available for people who are looking at Sharjah compared to Dubai.
Swapnil, it's nice to talk about industry with you rather than luxury real estate for a change. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Appreciate you joining us. Swapnil Pillai of Savills here in the Middle East.